I think it's coming along really well. I think just the ability for us to stretch the field and also get the ball underneath has been getting better and better. And I think overall we're getting a little bit more consistency as well as chemistry with Emory, Paul, and Trent and things like that. So I think that it's only going to be going up from here.
You're talking with Gio just now. You was talking about the dynamic that you guys have, where you're kind of working as that slot tandem, to bring in some different things to the offense. How do you, from your perspective, how is that dynamic working with Gio?
I think it's been great. I mean, me and Gio are really close. We're cool on the field, close off the field. And so I think that it's been good. I mean, I think that we do a lot of things similar, but I think that we have some differences in our game as well that just sort of complement the offense and are going to make sure that the defenses sort of have to prepare for two different guys and not just hone in on one of us.
How was your experience from Vanderbilt transferring over to here?
It's been great so far, honestly. I mean, I think this is a really good program. It's player-led. And Coach Herm does a good job of sort of using his NFL background to, I guess, prepare us and sort of design the program that he wanted to build. And I think that for me, it's been something that I've loved, especially being an older guy who's been in college football for 5 years. Coming somewhere where it's player-led and sort of a little bit less light on the physical aspects and more on the mental, I think it's been really good for my body. I've never felt so good coming out of the camp as I have now.
So the rapport with the wide receivers is obviously a critical part of the passing game. Ever since Emory got here over the last couple months, how have you seen him try to develop that chemistry and build that rapport with you guys?
Yeah, I think from day one, I mean, whenever I got here at least, Emory was getting extra routes in with the receivers, texting us, hey, can you come throw? After we got done with workouts, he'd always make sure that we got some throws and things like that. So I think that he was very proactive, and it's shown throughout camp, and I think that he'll continue to do that. I mean, he's still, after we get off the field, the first thing he does is come up to me and say, hey, this is why I threw it like that, and maybe next time run like this, or I really liked how you ran that here, so can you continue doing that, things like that. So I think that that's been the biggest thing for Emory.
Have you ever worked with a quarterback that is sort of similar in that regard, that is willing to, take the extra time to gel with his new receiving core and, really get those extra reps?
Yeah, I would say a lot of quarterbacks have been sort of like that, but I would say Emory's been top-notch as far as how often he's done that. I think that the only other person that's sort of done that in my career has been Kyle Shermer, who played in the NFL for a little bit. When I first got to Vanderbilt, just the way that he was incorporating me into the offense. But it's been really awesome to see, and that's how you know that a quarterback's ready to go to the next level, so it's been cool.
LT called him an encourager. What would be the best word you'd say to describe?
I would say encourager's a good one. I would say also upbeat. I think Emory's always happy to be out there. He's an energy guy. He's always going to give you energy. He's never going to take it away from you. And even when you maybe make a mistake or something, he's always the first one to pick you up. So I would say upbeat, uplifter, things like that. So
Does it help the offensive flow now that the quarterback question has been answered officially, and you guys know that this is the guy to rally around going forward?
You said, what was the beginning part of the question? Sorry.
So just now that the quarterback question's answered, the official announcement's been made, no speculation anymore. Does it help at all just in the preparations, knowing that that's the guy to go?
Definitely, I think 100%. I mean, I think that all those quarterbacks do something a little bit different, and Emory's probably the most mobile out of those guys. So being able to know that, hey, we're going to have to be able to be ready to make plays on the scramble or be blocking downfield because Emory might bust out to the side on a pass play and be ready to take it to the house. I think that's something that's important, and also it helps the line knowing that he might be rolling out to the right at sometimes, things like that. And for us, it just allows us to get better chemistry. I mean, we know who the guy is, we know who we need to go to work extra with, and things like that. So it's you can't really explain the impact that it has.
There's a lot of different pieces in this wide receiver group. What do you think is the biggest strength that you bring and you're going to showcase?
I think that one is I like to say that I'm going to always be in the right spot at the right time for the most part. Just sort of understanding the game and sort of being able to read coverages after being in college football for so long, things like that. I think that that's something that I bring. And I think also just the ability to make a play after the catch is something that hasn't got to be shown as much because we don't do as much tackling here, so it's a lot of tag off, and so you don't really know if that tackle was made. But I think once the season starts, it's something I'll showcase a little bit more.
What adjustments do you make from a wide receiver's perspective, knowing that Emory's a guy with that mobility, that he likes to use his legs to extend plays, not necessarily take off and run as soon as he feels pressure, but to extend plays, buy more time? How does that impact you in terms of just your routes and how you kind of react onto that?
I think as far as routes, you still approach your route the same way. I think that what the biggest thing is, whereas you see a pocket passer, you're more just focused on that route. When you have Emory back there, you're knowing that if he gets pressure, he could be rolling out at any point in time, and you've got to be sort of able to adjust to that. You've also got to look at wherever the receivers are because you don't want to stack those guys. So just sort of awareness of where the other receivers are and awareness of knowing when Emery's going to sort of break out the pocket.
I think some of these DBs you're going up against have been a little bit surprised about how high you can get up, like on some jump balls.
You said what?
Just on those jump balls, right? Like, do you think some of these DBs are a little bit surprised about how much of your bunnies, impact that?
Definitely. I think that sometimes people don't know that I can jump a little bit high, but that's probably the best part of my athleticism is the ability to jump, or my quickness. So
Yeah.
I think that they've definitely been a little bit surprised, but I'm sure that they'll get used to it and be ready to try and contest it even better coming soon.
What have you shared with all the receivers in the room about your experience that you've had in college football? Anything particular that you've shared with them?
I think that a lot of it's just been sort of some game experiences, things that I've seen over my time, maybe how we beat coverages in the past, maybe ways to identify coverages, things like that. It's not necessarily just things about the offense because that's harder for me to insert myself when I'm trying to learn it and get used to it myself, but I think that there are certain things of the game that never change that maybe some guys without game experience or the younger guys might not have ever experienced, and I'm still able to impart that wisdom on them.
I was talking to Coach Wade. I mean, obviously you guys as receivers, you should want the ball, but I mean, with this, looking at how this running game can be, and he said keeping you guys engaged. How big is that for you, especially with the running backs you have to make sure that you're engaged out there on the perimeter as a group?
Definitely. I think that that's something that's so underrated as a receiver. Jordan Matthews actually told me, he plays in the NFL for a while, the first thing he told me whenever we met was just that the run game gets the pass game going. So for one, if we're coming off the ball in the run game the same way that we're coming off in the pass game, it's going to make it so much easier for us to get open because that DB never knows if he's going to be getting a run or a pass. And then I think also a lot of fans don't necessarily realize sometimes that a lot of the big runs you see are because the receivers are blocking downfield. So we know that we want to be part of big plays, whether it's getting the ball or away from the ball. And so the ability to run block is something that the impact it can't be just put into words, I think.
And when you're saying, obviously, I mean, I know you're supposed to be blocking for him, but I mean, any runs that Daniel or X have made, it just kind of even left you a little surprised in like cuts they've made or anything so far in camp?
Definitely. I think both of them are just their ability to make cuts and just sort of read the holes has been something that's been really impressive to me. I think we got two really good running backs that are going to be able to make life easier on the offense and make life easier on us. So I'm excited to see them game one.